Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the One Man Low Council and episode 204 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast, and thank you very much for putting up with this early start time. We are on a schedule with baby Thor, and his bath time has been around 8 p.m. or so. And because it is a little bit more difficult to bathe him by oneself, I wanted to be sure that we could get this stream over by 8 p.m. or a little after 8 p.m. That's going to be the cutoff time. So please just be aware of that as the time goes on, 8 p.m. Eastern time. If you could just, before then, slow down on questions and comments, that would be very much appreciated as such. But we should be able to get through everything by then. But that is why we have an early start time tonight. It should not be regular, maybe another week or so, perhaps. We're going to try and transition him to a new schedule that will have the bath time actually be earlier. So it'll be right before the stream once we actually switch that. And so at that point, then it should not conflict with the stream. But thank you again for your patience. I try to put it out on all the social media platforms. I put it up on the Discord as well. So hopefully everyone knows that we have started early. So let's say hello to some people in the chat really quickly. Starting over on D-Live, we got Animation Commentator. How is it going, good sir? He is a part of the D-Live fam. Heading out to YouTube, we got Hardwick has become a member at the Citizen of Asgard level. Hardwick, thank you, man. You've been here long enough. You've asked enough questions. Thank you for finally becoming a member. I appreciate it. How's it going, good sir? We got Mr. Roy in the chat. What's going on, Mr. Roy? Slicer Neons, how is it going? We got Bryant Barth, Hale Bryant. He starts off with a question. Well, do you think Legendary will fight Warner Brothers? P.S. Which do you think is better, Shawshank or Stand By Me? Well, the second question is difficult because those are two very different movies. So I think they're both great for different reasons. I think Shawshank might be the better overall film. However, if you were to ask me which one would I rather watch again now, it would be Stand By Me, because I feel like Stand By Me is actually a lot more palatable, because Shawshank is pretty, not to say that Stand By Me is not dark, but I feel like Shawshank is a lot darker and a lot more of a journey. It's also a longer film. So yeah, it's a difficult question to answer for that reason, because they're both great for different reasons overall. But I think Shawshank technically would be the better overall film. Now, to your first question, Legendary is fighting Warner Brothers on this. They have issued, based on the report I covered the other day, they've issued legal documents to Warner Brothers. Now, whether or not that will go anywhere, whether or not they can actually do anything, is the number one question. We honestly don't know the answer to that yet, but hopefully we should find out as the days go on. We got Tina B, the Empress of the Universe, and one of my Valks. Thank you for being here. And yes, Steph will be a little late because I am a little early, so it makes total sense. Griffin Turbo, how is it going? 13th Warrior in the chat, how is it going? Pat S, who's a member on the channel, how's it going? ZK Man, what's going on, ZK Man? He is a member on the channel and one of the Chosen of Valhalla, as Mr. Roy also was. ZK-Man says, Odin starting earlier means I can start my birthday partying earlier. JK, I'm not partying. Well, happy birthday, ZK-Man, if it is still your actual birthday, or if that was just a comment. Alrighty then. The chat has jumped on me like it always does, and I've been having issues for some reason. Whenever I go to live chat, it just messes up, and it doesn't do anything. So hopefully there's not any issues on y'all's end, because I normally have live chat and it's just top chat, and if I try and change it, things disappear, and that's not a good thing. Alex McCarthy, who's a member of the channel, what's going on, Alex? He tagged me as well, and he says, howdy, and how's it going with the pizza and the Thor? Baby Thor is doing fine. Didn't nap too well today, but for the most part, he's doing all right. Had some nice feedings this evening. And of course, bathing him after the stream ends. And as far as the pizza, no pizza tonight, but we did have pizza yesterday, so I had it for lunch. I had leftover pizza for lunch, and it was delightful. It really was. Peter Han, what's going on? How is it going? Good to see you here. Heimdall is on. You're welcome, Will Gentry. I made sure that was going on within seconds. We got Waiting for Nerdrotic Laura. Laura, how is it going? Speaking of Laura, I need to show Laura something that I think is incredibly important. Now, whether or not I'll be able to pull this off correctly, I don't know, but I think that we've been having a little bit of a debate, and it's been a very important debate. for a very long time now. And so hopefully this will show up for everybody. Let's see. Will it show up? Right now it's just a black screen. So let's see if I can pull it up. There we go. Boom. All right, so this is to add it to the fire. Gina Carano, who both Laura and I are fans of, has this to say about Christmas. She says, "It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas." And what is that a photo of? Oh, wait a minute. Is that Die Hard? Is she referencing Die Hard as a Christmas movie? I think she is. Ergo, the argument has officially and fully been won by me. Laura, there it is. Gina Carano has confirmed that it is indeed a Christmas movie, and so therefore, in the immortal words of one Willy Wonka, you lose. Good day. I say good day. I had to show that to you. But anyway, thank you for being here, Laura, and thank you for being also a mod. Orange Reviews, what's going on? He says, hello, everyone. Hail, Odin. Hail to you. He's a member on the channel as well. Hologram Nunchuck, hail to you. Thank you for being active over on the second channel. By the way, I do have a second channel called the OMB Report, and I'll do a little actual segment that is OMB Report-esque to start off the show tonight, to show you exactly what kind of content you can expect. Nathan Slay tagged, what's going on, good sir? Says, howdy, Odin. How's it going? How is it going? Let's see. Pat S says, transitioning bath times. Someone that sounds like a first-time parent. Yes, indeed. It is about that time, indeed. Sasha Dion's tagged and says, will humanity unite to protect ourselves from alien invasion, or should we welcome our new ant overlords? You mean the galactic, was it the Galactic Agency, the Galactic Republic? Or whatever it is called. Yeah, sure. I don't buy into that stuff, but you can. Margie Smiles, thank you very much for subscribing to the channel. Glad that I'm getting the subscribe notifications now. Keck44, how is it going? Glad to see you in the chat. Hunter Iggy, what's going on, Iggy? Nathan Slay tagged at 633 and said, Mulan, let's get down to business to defeat the Huns. And then Bruce Willis in Die Hard, let's get down to business to defeat Hans. I like that, Nathan. I like that. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Thank you. All right, Chan has jumped on me like it always does. Just tends to do that. Let's just see. But luckily, no comments have been skipped. Heimdall went a little nuts. Looks like he may have calmed down a little bit, but it is hard to say one way or the other. Let's jump over to D-Live. Let's see if anything's going over there. Biffy Tannen's over there. What's going on, Biffy Tannen? Putting a cute image of a puppy. Putting a very cute image of a puppy. I appreciate that very, very much. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's see. Nathan Slay says, The Shawshank Redemption is a perfect movie to me, by the way. So emotionally satisfying, and the movie goes by fast for me. Well, by long movie, I just meant runtime in comparison to the very quick 90 minutes of Stand By Me. I agree. I think I think it is the definition of what many would consider to be a perfect movie by a lot of standards, which is why it's impossible to compare that to another really great, solid movie in Stand By Me. I don't know if I would call Stand By Me a quintessential perfect film, but it's definitely a solid film, no doubt about it. Orange Review says, I didn't ask for a cookie count this time, Heimdall. Well, I guess he's just going nuts. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. And Laura Lowe goes, la, 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 not listening. Very, very Princess Bride-esque of you. I am not listening to you. She says, no. Well, too bad you've lost. You have lost. Gina Carano has said it, and therefore, since she is queen, she wins. All right, Tina B says, Critical Drinker did a video about Die Hard, and I guess it being a Christmas movie, haven't watched his video yet. I haven't seen it yet either. Soul Assassin, how's it going? Nathan Slade Taddy says, to me, Die Hard is not only one of the best Christmas movies, it's one of the greatest movies ever. You can poke fun at me for how much of a Die Hard fanboy I am. Again, I wouldn't personally say it's one of the best films ever. However, it is a great film. It is a lot of fun. It's a fun franchise to a point. Obviously, it gets to a point where you're like, maybe you should have stopped. Maybe didn't have to keep on going, but no judgments here. It's a good film. as Laura puts the thumbs down. ZK Man says, yes, Odin, to answer your question about my comment, tomorrow is technically on my birthday. Well, happy early birthday to ZK Man. And says, I know that you're over on that West Coast time. Happy early birthday to you. Ernest Rojas, what's going on? Welcome to the chat. Blake St. Clair is here. Laura says, can I give a negative super chat? No, you can't. Too bad. Too bad. You lose. Good day, sir. As Blake St. Clair said right above you, you stole fizzy lifty drinks. You've contaminated the ceiling, which now needs to be washed. God, that's such a great film. Alice McCarthy, who's a member and tagged, says Die Hard and Scrooged and Christmas Vacation, best Christmas movies. So there's one movie I was introduced to when I was fully welcomed into my wife's clan. And it is something called Eddie's First Christmas. Look it up on YouTube. Eddie's First Christmas. It is hilarious. It is cheesy hilarious. And at one point, the main character, who is a dog puppet, sings a song, Is Your Heart a Manger? And it is hilarious. So I'm sure my wife may have heard that and said, why is he singing Eddie's Christmas? Slash Neon says, Klaus is a better Christmas movie, but Die Hard and Angels with Filthy Souls are valid Christmas movies. Yes, I would agree with both of those. And Klaus is definitely a better that is Christmas, right? Because it's about Santa Claus. Like, it's about Klaus. Of course, it's going to be a better Christmas movie, but both of those are still Christmas movies. Yep, I would agree. Pat S., who's a member, says, top 3 Rob Reiner movies, Stand By Me at number 3, Princess Bride at number 2, and A Few Good Men at number 1. I had no idea he did A Few Good Men. Speaking of films I have not seen, I've actually not seen A Few Good Men. I know, of course, the line, you can't handle the truth, which will be a little bit of the subject I'll talk about in the first segment dealing with the OMB report. But yeah, Stand By Me is fantastic. Princess Bride also is fantastic as well. Eric K., who's a member, what's going on? I see Bradley in there. What's going on, Bradley Brown? How's it going, good sir? There's no need to post more than once, Bradley Brown. I fall 20 minutes behind every time. It's just the way it goes. That's just the way it goes. How's it going, good sir? How is college? I believe you're in college now. Should be in college now. I hope it is going swimmingly well. Swimmingly well. We got 33 people watching. We are early tonight, so I imagine there's some people who don't follow the social media accounts. But anyway, thank you for the 33 people that are indeed here. And before jumping any further, let's go ahead and dive into this bit of news that I wanted to talk about today for the OMB report segment. Dun, 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 dun. I don't really have any official music to segue. Maybe I should get like a little newsreel thing going. But yeah, it is an interesting case, and it is something. Let me see if I can pull up an article. That way I can have it up while I'm talking about it, because it's something that I've been very confused about. It's something that I still very much am not quite sure exactly how to read into it, but I think it's important nonetheless, and I think I may have figured it out. So for those that have been following the OMB report, I've been covering a lot of, obviously politics and news, and one of the things I've been talking about is the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court specifically in the 2020 election. And so tonight, the Supreme Court issued a ruling where it rejected a GOP-led request, which was looking for emergency relief. It was looking for essentially an emergency injunction to stop the further certification of the results in Pennsylvania. And tonight, without any actual named justices, with no opinions listed, and no vocal dissents, they threw out the case, meaning that they denied the request for the emergency injunction. And so obviously the news picks this up and it says Supreme Court rejects it, nullifies Biden win. Rather, it denies and rejects the request to nullify the Biden win. It's over. It's done. There's a problem though with that, and that's a couple things. One, the case that was denied here is actually technically still active, because this was an emergency petition to the Supreme Court. And so the emergency petition has been denied. However, the case is still active in the lower courts. Basically, what the Supreme Court seems to have done here is to say that they want that case to go through the normal means, which is you go to court, you win or lose, right? And if you lose, you appeal, you go, and again, you go from court to court to court till eventually, naturally, you get to, at the very end, your very last appeal would be to the Supreme Court. And so basically what we have going on is that this case has actually not been ruled on by the merits, which means they haven't actually looked at the substance of this case. So the only thing that was thrown out tonight by the Supreme Court was this emergency injunction, which kind of makes sense because the Supreme Court is going to obviously want most cases to go through the natural means of the courts. What's interesting, though, and I think which will make this case specifically make more sense, and obviously this is contingent upon the second thing I'm about to say, is that Texas earlier today basically filed a lawsuit against 4 states, against, I believe it was Wisconsin, I believe it was also Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. I believe that those were the states. And the lawsuit was essentially that these states have wronged the people of Texas and other states too by not holding their people essentially to constitutional standards, by violating state law, by violating constitutional law, etc. And so what some people are now speculating, and obviously this could easily change if the Supreme Court says, nope, too bad, this is not valid, is that the reason why the Supreme Court ruled so quickly on this specific case that was brought forward, again, the one that I have up on the screen right now, is because it is very similar to the case that Texas just brought. And so therefore, they could easily say, oh, no, we're going to reject your emergency request because we want you to go through the lower courts the way it should be. The Texas request, though, since they're suing other states, that is directly under the purview of the Supreme Court, meaning that it does not need to go to any other lower courts. In fact, it doesn't go to any lower courts. This is the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, is when you have issues between states. And so earlier today, not only did they file, the Supreme Court has officially put that case on their docket, meaning that they will indeed make a decision on it. And they could easily say, we're not going to listen to the case. That could be very similar to what they did in this case that I have up on the screen. So just say, nope, we're just going to deny you upright. You could also potentially see them say, we're willing to listen to your case, and then they could rule one way or the other. And they or they could rule and say, all right, you listed a lot of different, essentially, a lot of different paths that the court could take, essentially. And so basically, it was looking for, they filed the case, and they wanted what we call relief. And relief just means like an answer. So throwing out ballots would be one example of relief. Stopping certification would be one example of relief. Another one they listed is letting the state legislatures handle these cases directly and basically delay the December 14th deadline the December 14th deadline for the electors to actual vote. Because for those that don't know, we are not a direct democracy here in the United States. We are a constitutional republic. And so therefore, when we vote on election day, we're not voting for a direct candidate. We're voting for electors. And then whoever gets the popular vote in a state, then that means that that person's electors are selected. And then on December 14th, they are actually voting in the electoral college. And then whoever gets 270 electoral votes becomes the president-elect and the vice president-elect, which is why we don't really have one yet. Even though the media has been saying, oh, vice president-elect, not officially yet because the electoral college has not voted yet because we are not a democracy in that way. So I find that interesting. And so, as I said, basically, this is an interesting case because if Texas wins this case, it depends, of course, what a victory looks like, because a victory could simply be, say, all right, December 14th is no longer the deadline. Now it's December 18th that the Electoral College will vote, right? Or it could simply be we're not going to have any deadline and the state legislatures can decide whatever it is that they want to decide. It could be a lot of things. It could also simply be, nope, this election is over and we're not going to hear your case. What I will be most interested by, however, is who actually rules where, because it'll give us a good understanding of where the current justices on the court stand on the issue of the constitutionality of state laws and federal laws, because there have been clear violations of law. No matter what side you're on, there have been clear violations of state laws. And so the question is going to be, is the Supreme Court willing to take those cases up in a timely manner or not? And in this case, the one I have up on the screen, since this was brought by individual plaintiffs from a specific state who have not yet gone through the other courts, or at least all of the other courts that they should go through before ruling on the merits, makes sense. The Supreme Court would say we're not going to allow your emergency request in this case. But since the Texas case is directly under the Supreme Court's jurisdiction, meaning there are no other courts that can rule on it, we could potentially see something different. So anyway, I found this case very interesting, and that's why I wanted to talk about it for this first segment tonight from the OMB report. So if you like that kind of content and that kind of commentary, go check out my second channel, the OMB report. You can find a link for it in the description of this video, and I would appreciate it. All right, let me jump now back over to, let's see, no one's talking on DLive fam. That's okay. Hope everyone's fine, DLive. I imagine the DLive fam don't follow me on social media or in the Discord, and don't know that we started early. So I imagine some people will start rolling in soon saying, wait a minute, wait a tick, how long have you been on? What's going on here? All right, let's jump back over to YouTube where, just to shout him out again, Eric K says, hail all. Hail to you, Eric K. Keck44 says, I wonder if Gina likes pineapple on pizza. Disgusting, Keck44. Of course she doesn't. Of course she doesn't. She is nothing but honest and truthful. Laura says, Gina Carano probably likes candy corn. Well, candy corn's delicious, so that would be a good thing. Yes. Hail, Pat S. Let us see. Who else is in the chat tonight? Bryant Barth tagged and says, breaking news from Jeremy. Santa refuses to give Nerf gun for kid, gets fired from job, and real Santa gives Nerf gun to kid. I didn't hear about the Santa getting fired, but yeah, that's something that Steven Crowder on Ladder with Crowder this morning on his morning show did that. So he dressed up as Santa, gave him a Nerf gun, and that's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah, the original video is heartbreaking because the kid asked for a Nerf gun, and the Santa's like, no guns. Nope, not going to give you any guns. Is there anything else you want? And the kid starts crying because that's the main thing that he wanted. And I understand having a certain policy, like if the kid asks for an actual gun, okay, I can understand why a Santa would be told, no, you can't do that. But a Nerf gun? Really? Come on, man. Like, that's ridiculous. But yes, that's something that I've known about since the beginning of the day because it was there. Let's see. Soul Assassin tagged at tagged at 640 and says, it ain't Christmas without hearing it yippee-ki-yay. That's very true. Remember, if you have a comment or question and you're not a member and you don't super chat or donate, you have to tag Odin Question, all one word, Odin Question. Otherwise, I will not read your comment because it will not highlight orange for me. And I usually fall about 20 minutes behind or so. Tina B tagged and says, Godfather is also a Christmas movie because they are celebrating Christmas at one point. Lethal Weapon is also a Christmas movie. Here's the difference, though, is that there hasn't really been a cult following for those movies as Christmas movies in the same way as you find with Die Hard. For instance, as I've pointed out several times, the Die Hard copy that I have has a Christmas sweater cover. You don't find the same thing for The Godfather or for Lethal Weapon. I think I've seen more for Lethal Weapon. I think I may have seen images with Lethal Weapon with Mel Gibson's character with a Santa hat on or something. But it's a little different because the cult is not quite the same. And I mean cult in the classical way and not in the creepy in the creepy Scientology way. Cynical Lindsay, it's been a while. What's going on, Cynical Lindsay? Glad to see you in the chat. Robert Frey, how's it going? 13th Warrior tagged and says, Shawshank, a perfect movie. He crawled through the sewer and got no leeches. Stand By Me got leeches. Well, yes, but leeches are not in every body of water. So that's not a problem necessarily. Not necessarily. And speaking of the leeches, damn those leeches. That's all I'm going to say about that. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, especially the men who've seen the film. Nathan Slay tagged at 641 and says, I know Die Hard has been quote-unquote touched since it became a franchise, but I still think Die Hard is untouchable in the way that it should never be remade. If you mean the original, yes, I would agree with that. Bradley Brown tags says, how you been, brother? I've been good. I told you, man, you don't have to comment more than once, bro. Let's see. Orange Hat Reviews, who's a member, says, Odin, I recently saw the 2020 Mulan. Such a confusing narrative throughout that movie. I honestly thought I was very generous with my scores. It's a terrible film. It's a garbage film. It's so bad. The score is the only good thing. The score is actually pretty good. It's actually pretty competently put together. But everything else is trash. Everything else is total trash. The narrative especially is awful. Awful, awful, awful. All right, let's see. Chat has jumped on me, like it always does. you know how that old thing works. All right. Let us see. All right. Luckily, no comments have been skipped because it's pretty slow so far tonight. Let's see. Still no comments over on DLive. I'm sure my DLive people will. We got 4 people watching on DLive, so thank you for watching on DLive. I appreciate it. All right, let's see. Orange Hat Reviews has another comment. He's a member. He says, we all know the #1 Christmas movie is Krampus. Krampus is an excellent Christmas movie. It's also, I would say, a better Black Friday movie, because the opening scene is all about Black Friday, and I think it's a great commentary on consumerism and on Americanized Christmas, for sure. So I would agree. I would definitely agree with you on that point. Krampus is great. Eric K says, I was really disappointed in one Christmas movie I saw, Krampus. No. Why were you disappointed? Was it that your expectations were too high for it, maybe? I don't know. Tina says, Siskel and Ebert hated A Few Good Men because Tommy's character told his final strategy at the end, and that's what happened. Why would you spoil the strategy by telling it? I haven't seen it, so you just spoiled it for me. So you just spoiled a spoiler of a spoiler. No, you spoiled a spoiler movie? I don't know how to say that, but anyway. Thank you, Tina, for spoiling that. Brad, glad to hear that LSU is doing great. For you, Mex, what's going on, good sir? 2 streams in a row, bro. What's going on, man? He says, just dropping to quickly say good evening and have a great stream. Well, thanks, man. Wish you could stick around. Alrighty here. Pat S says, God bless Texas. Damn right. God bless Texas. Also, I think Louisiana may have joined the suit, and if not officially, it gave its support towards the suit. So what could be really interesting is if Texas, if the lawsuit gets tossed in the same way, what if Louisiana then does an official lawsuit? And then if every state gets tossed, like you just keep going over and over again saying, yes, we're going to make you have to reject every single state that has issues with these laws being violated. And then at that point, you start to ask the question, what is the point of the Supreme Court if you're not going to make a ruling on this? Let's see. Bradley Brown tagged me and says, are you on team voter fraud or team baseless claims? So here's the thing. It's a complicated issue because there are clear cases of voter impropriety. There's no denial of that. I mean, just look at their Voter Integrity Project found clear evidence of voter impropriety. Remember that fraud requires there to be intent, and that's something that has to be proven in a court of law, and it has not yet been proven in a court of law. It's also not been allowed to be proven in a court of law, for the record. But I think that is something that needs to be said, is that fraud itself has not been actually proven because intent has not actually been proven yet, because that has to be proven in court, and it has not yet. However, there are clear cases of voter irregularity and voter impropriety. Those would be the official terms for it. And no, there are clear evidence of that, especially when you look to the fact, in Pennsylvania especially, you had a law that went against Pennsylvania's own constitution, which means that those ballots that were cast in that way have to be put in question, because if it's a violation of state law, then how can you count those ballots, right? Or at least how can you count them the way in which they've been counted thus far? So yeah, I mean, it's not baseless claims because there's a clear basis. Now, I'm not on the team conspiracy where it's like, oh, all the machines flipped everything and like there's no real clear evidence of that yet. I do think the machines should be looked into. Just so, here's my thing. Every single claim should be investigated so that whoever gets inaugurated on Inauguration Day has a clean election, right? Has a clean day of inauguration. No questions are left. Every stone has been unturned, because then for 4 years we can say this was the legitimate person who got elected. Where if you have what's happening now is if these courts just say, oh, we're not even going to let you state your claims, or we're not even going to let you present your sworn affidavits, we're not going to let you present your evidence of any kind, then at that point, I think that you're just going to leave. Like literally right now, there are millions, tens of millions of people in this country that believe that this election was fraudulent. That is not a good thing. Like, just practically speaking, that is not a good thing to have for a new incoming president, to have millions of Americans think you're illegitimate. So for me, I don't care which way it goes in the end, as long as these cases get looked into. Obviously, I think that one person might be better suited to actually respect constitutional law, to actually respect the rights of states than the other. And obviously, one is actually pro-life, where the other is clearly pro-choice, which again is the biggest issue for me personally. However, at a practical level, all I want is for the truth to be allowed to come out and for us to be allowed to ask the questions and to actually investigate, which has not really happened yet. Hopefully that answers the question, because it's definitely more complicated. Pat S., who's a member, says, this is going to the House or House of Representatives. I don't know. Here's the thing. Basically, here's what's going to happen for anyone wondering about the schedule. So on December 14th, the Electoral College meets to actually officially cast their votes. You could have, theoretically, a House legislation, or rather let's say, for instance, the Georgia House want to call a special session. And apparently they may be able to actually do that without the governor, because the governor's been blocking that to this point. Let's say the state legislature in Georgia sends a different set of electors. Well, then at that point, there's a lot of confusion, because now you've got two sets of electors at the Electoral College voting two different ways, potentially. And if that were to happen, then once it gets to the House, when the votes are officially tabulated and confirmed, you could actually have people bringing up questions and bringing up debates, and that could call things into question. So that's one way. The other thing is you could have faithless electors. Faithless electors would be, let's say, that a slate of electors are sent to vote for one person, and then all of them decide to vote for the opposite. Well, a lot of states have laws against that, meaning that if they did vote against it, if they were a faithless elector, they would essentially, they could be fined, they could be jailed, depending on what the penalty is in that state. But at the very least, what would happen is their vote would be invalidated, and they would essentially be replaced with votes for who they were supposed to be voting for in the first place, which basically means that a faithless elector, for the most part, can't do much of anything. So some people have been saying, what if you have enough faithless electors that leave neither at 270? Again, most states have laws against it, so you're likely not going to get to that point. But you could get to the point where, let's say, Joe Biden, who's most likely to get to 270, let's say that after the Electoral College votes on December 14th, and they decide to start counting, because they have to count on January 6th is when you actually have Congress, the Senate and House, confirm those votes. If you then have in the House of Representatives of the entire country and the Senate of the entire country, if you have people bringing up questions, bringing up disputes, you could have a delay in the vote, but it would be very difficult from that position to really be able to make a difference, because Democrats control the House, Republicans control the Senate, and you have a lot of Senate Republicans who likely would not want to cause any problems or cause any division. So I think that at the end of the day, there's a 99% chance that Joe Biden gets inaugurated. There is still a chance for Donald Trump. However, it is a very difficult path, which would be made a lot easier if the Supreme Court does rule in Texas' favor, especially if they grant some of the relief that they're requesting, like, for instance, moving that December 14th Electoral College date, or letting, specifically saying all House legislatures in these named states have to decide and have to essentially resolve these issues. Because if that happens, then you could potentially have a contingent, what we call a contingent election, meaning that the House legislatures are the ones that end up choosing, which would be very crazy and interesting. But then again, it is 2020. Anything can happen, man. HyperX13, what's going on? Just another red shirt, what's going on? 13th Warrior, who tagged at 649, says, even if all the court cases are lost, the ultimate power lies with Congress. If one senator and one congressperson objects to the electors, if the full Congress decides certification. Yeah, so I've heard about that, 13th Warrior. So yeah, basically on January 6th, when they're voting to essentially certify the results of the Electoral College, if one senator or one congressperson objects, of which we know there's at least one. In fact, I would say in the House, there's probably a good group of 60 to 80, max maybe 100 representatives that would probably be willing to speak up. So therefore, I don't know exactly how it works. I don't know if it's an official vote. I think that it's more so a symbolic measure than anything else. So if it's an actual vote, then it gets interesting, because then obviously they debate in the House. They can only debate, I think, for 2 hours max is what the Constitution designates. And then if it would go from the House, I believe, then to the Senate, or the Senate votes, or as the Senate calculates the votes for one or the other. Again, I don't know exactly how that works. I'll have to do more research into that. But basically, let's say that The House, of course, having a Democratic majority, and many Republicans likely would go along with certification. It gets to the Senate. If you have all of the Republican senators, because keep in mind, too, the Georgia runoff election for 2 Senate seats. Right now, the Senate is 50-48. If both of those seats go to Republicans, you could theoretically, if it is a vote to certify, if 2 Republican senators essentially go towards and vote with the Democrats to certify, and you have a 50-50 split, if assuming the Georgia races are both won by the Republicans, because then it would be 52-48. So let's say 2 Republicans defect to Democrat side, it's a 50-50 split. You know who the tie-breaking vote is? Mike Pence. Now, I don't know if that's how it works, though. I don't know if there's an official vote and if it can happen in that way. My guess is that if that happened, the Supreme Court would have to make some kind of decision, if I had to guess, but I'm not quite sure. That Nobody Guy, thank you for the $5 super chat, says, your beard is epic. I want to live in there. Do you rent? I don't. I don't actually rent, but probably I should. Maybe I should. Nathan Slay says, tag to 649. Have you seen Donnie Darko? If so, do you recommend it? I have seen it. It is a bit odd. It's hard for me to do a full recommend. It's a solid film. Jake Gyllenhaal is great in it, but again, it's not a film that I would want to see over and over again, if that makes sense. Bruce, what's going on? Says, YouTube no longer sends me an email notice of your live streams, just an FYI. So Bruce, that is because they emailed, I think months ago, and told everyone they would no longer be sending email notifications. So that is actually legit. That is not YouTube suppressing my channel. They are no longer sending email notifications. That's just a thing. You basically have to get their app or have notifications on your desktop or laptop on in order to get anything. So yeah, that is not that's not weird. That's actually legit. And I did start 30 minutes early. And I did announce that on Twitter, social media places, and on the Discord earlier. So everyone should have known about it if you follow me on any of those platforms. I'm on Parler. I'm on Minds. I'm on Twitter. I'm on my Discord, of course. HyperNex13 Tagna says, hi, brother, how are you? Nice to hear your thoughts on Mank. Good to hear David Fincher is back. It's been a while. Yeah, dude, Mank was so good. Mank was solid. If you've not seen it yet, it is on Netflix. I know Netflix is evil, but if you do still have it, it is on there, and it is fantastic. It is the best movie so far that I've seen of 2020. It is, I think, one of the best films made of the last several years. It's a movie that I know has probably a 99% chance of being put out by Criterion at some point, and I plan to buy that because it just looks fantastic. Mike Jackson, what's going on, good sir? Glad to see you here. Let's see. Animation Commentator over on YouTube, thanks for tagging, says, I really loved Steven Crowder being Santa this morning. It warmed my heart. It was just awesome. I mean, yeah, you just feel bad for the kid because they left him crying, and just for him to be able to make that kind of a difference just shows you. I think that's something where it's interesting how Steven Crowder obviously is known as this like conservative icon, really. I don't really think there are many people who are on the progressive side, not even the liberal side, because I don't really like using that term in that way, because I think that there are people like, for example, like Tim Pool. I would call Tim Pool a liberal. He's not a progressive by any means. He's not a leftist by any means. I don't think a progressive would have done that at all. I don't think that they would have made that kind of a sacrifice for that kid. So that was awesome to see. Alice McCarthy's a member, says, actually, Gina doesn't like candy corn. Unfortunately, drunk was sad. No, Queen, what have you done? Brian Bartaglia says, what do you think? Who do you think is the GOAT of directors? And I mean all time. P.S. Uwe Boll is making a comeback. No, he's not. Stop that, Brian Barth. Uwe Boll is not making a comeback. He's terrible. Greatest of all time. Again, that's a difficult question. I would be tempted to say Alfred Hitchcock, because he did such a wide variety of movies, and he was just notorious, all pun intended with that one, for just always making solid films. But I have to say, I don't know if I have an all-time favorite, to be honest, because Spielberg is up there. Robert Zemeckis, to be honest, is up there for some of my favorites. it's very difficult, I think, for me to really point one out. Scorsese, also one of the all-time greats. So I would say I'm just going to go with my modern day, the one currently working in Hollywood, who I like the most is Denis Villeneuve. That would be my final answer on that one, but not of all time. It's hard to answer because, again, every director is so very different. It's hard to answer of all times. Bradley Brown says, Goodfellas is the greatest film of all time. Goodfellas is a great film. There's no denial of that. Goodfellas is absolutely a fantastic film. Marcus Cato, thank you very much for the super sticker. Yeah. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's see. Where did we leave off in the chats? I think we left off at 6:54. So luckily, no comments have been skipped, which is always wonderful. Thank you. Right, let's jump over to D-Live. Let's see, is my D-Live fam awake? Yes, indeed. Daniel Thorne, what's going on, Daniel Thorne? He says, it's National Pretend to be a Time Traveler Day. If you were a time traveler, where would you go and why? I would go to the medieval period in Europe because I love the concept of fealty. I love the concept of knighthood and all that stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of downs to that time in history as well, especially when you talk about medicine. But yeah, that's the time in history that most interests me. Also, no indoor plumbing. That would be kind of hard. Dion, what's going on, good sir? Thank you very much for the lemon donation. I appreciate you, very good sir. Thank you. Daniel Thorne tagged me and says, I heard the Department of Education makes more money than Disney, and property taxes go to schools, so why do teachers complain about low pay? Yeah, I don't know about the low pay part, because I think that's more public school teachers than anything else who actually get paid. Here's the funny thing, right? It's usually the public school teachers, right? Because they're the ones that are in the unions. They complain about low pay. As a teacher in a private school, they get a lot more. They get a lot more than private school teachers. So especially in benefits. So there is that. However, as far as the property taxes go, what makes me more frustrated is when a public school is closed and the taxes that we're paying are going to those public schools and no teaching is if no teaching is happening, right? Because then the money is going to somewhere that basically the investment that we're supposed to be making in our community isn't being lived up to, right? Is not being lived up to in that instant. So therefore, I do have a problem when that happens specifically. And so the fact that you do have teachers that are fighting against teaching, that I'm not okay with in any way. Let's see. Fat Pig Signals. Thank you for the ice cream donation. I appreciate it. Daniel Thornton tagged and says, at the end of time, Bennett's, what did the Supreme Being have the boy sign? I've only seen the movie once, and I've forgotten. I don't remember. I do not remember. Camden Heights, thank you for the 5 ice cream donations. I very much appreciate it. Thank you. All right, back over to YouTube. What's going on, YouTube? HyperNex13 says, I still haven't seen the Die Hard sequels. Are they worth watching? I've actually only seen bits and pieces of them myself. I want to say that the first 3 Die Hards are worth seeing. The 4th one's decent, and then after that, stop. The 4th one is the last one I think I actually saw that one in theaters, and I've only seen bits and pieces of 2 and 3. Let's see. Hologram Nunchuck tag and says, I didn't realize that the main character in Stand By Me was Wesley in Star Trek Next Generation. Yeah, man. Yeah. It's one of those things where once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? You're like, oh, wait, that's Will Wheaton. That is Will Wheaton, right? But yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I imagine that the performance he gave in Stand By Me is one of the reasons why he got the role on Star Trek, because his acting in Stand By Me is fantastic. And I'm pretty sure Stand By Me is before his time on Star Trek, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Nathan Slade Tag says, Santa Claus is a great Christmas movie. I agree. That is a true statement. Absolutely true. Dean Approve, what's going on, good sir? Glad to see you in here. Jacob Juice, what's going on, my friend from Holland? What's going on, bro? He says, hi, Odin. How are you doing, sir? I wanted to mention to you that some theaters in Holland won't show Wonder Woman 2, because they don't like the new deal with HBO. I sadly don't like this as well. Yeah, man. And that's the sad thing too, right, is that by them making this deal, right, and so I guess we can move on to that part. So HBO Max, obviously, for those that have not been following the reports, HBO Max, or more accurately Warner Brothers and Warner Media, announced that the entire 2021 slate of Warner Brothers films will be released for an entire month on HBO Max. At the same time it's released in theaters. You will not have to pay a premium. As long as you're a subscriber to HBO Max, you'll have access to those movies, starting with Wonder Woman 1984. And then after a month, the plan is for it to be taken off of the streaming service for a time, and then it'll be exclusive to theaters, I believe, and potentially to be on PVOD at that time as well. And yeah, theaters are very angry at this, and I think they have a right to be. And I did a video today specifically about Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan had, I think, one of the best responses to this issue. Christopher Nolan said, and I quote, "People went to bed thinking they were working with the greatest studio currently alive or currently existing, and they woke up to be on the worst streaming service imaginable." Something to that effect. And I thought that was so funny because he is just ripping HBO Max by saying that, right? He's like, people thought they were working for a great studio, and then they found out that they were on a crappy streaming service. It's like, damn, dude, you are just throwing HBO Max under the bus. And it's funny because he also mentions at another point in this interview that he gave about, he's like, yeah, people don't want to be on this fledgling service. And he makes a good point, right? Basically, HBO Max and Warner Brothers, what they're doing is they are trying to essentially make up for the fact that their streaming service is not currently successful, even though they could easily remedy a big portion of that if they just made their app available on Roku. This is a point I've made so many times. It's starting to get so tiresome. Roku accounts for the vast majority of streaming devices on the market. When we talk about streaming devices, most people own a Roku, and yet HBO Max is not available on most Roku devices. I want to say I read somewhere it's available on some, kind of, but even then, again, most of them it's not. And so they could easily get more subscriptions if they made it available there, because I know a lot of people who have said, I would get it, but I can't play it anywhere because all I have are Roku devices, because Roku is a great company. Like, Roku has a lot of really great, well-priced devices. I have several Roku devices myself. And so HBO Max could definitely do better in that way. But by doing this, what they are doing essentially is punishing the studios that they've worked with. In the case of Dune, right, that's another film I brought up. Dune, the production company specifically that's working with them, put 75% of the production budget up for that movie. And we're told like an hour before this announcement. And so they're looking at this saying, wait a minute, we're getting screwed in this deal. We were expecting a return on our investment, and you're just going to put it right onto your streaming service. Because from what I can tell, all the money HBO makes from the streaming service stays with HBO, stays with Warner Brothers. I don't think that they send any of that money to their partners. And I think that's how I think they're basically cheating their partners, right? Because I think the only money that they split is in theaters and on PVOD sales and in the Blu-ray and DVD and 4K sales eventually too. I don't think that the split would exist on the streaming service though, because again, the problem with that is the fact that you cannot know for certain why somebody is signing up for a certain subscription service. And so HBO and Warner Brothers could essentially say, well, we're not going to give you any of this $15, $20 that someone's just paid us, because for all we know, the subscription could have been because they wanted to watch a Batman movie, or because they wanted to watch one of our Turner Classic movies, or one of the animes that we have. And so therefore we get to keep it all. So it's kind of a racket, to be honest, by Warner Brothers. So it makes total sense to me why you now have companies and actors and directors who are calling them out for this nonsense, and in some cases are actually bringing up litigation against them too. And I think that they have a good case to be made there. Because, yeah, for that first month when it's in theaters and also on HBO Max, HBO might be getting a lot of money from new subscriptions, and they're trying to essentially, basically, Nolan made it best when he said that these new big movies that are meant to be seen on the big screen, are meant to try and drive people back to the theaters, are instead going to be used as a way to try and prop up this streaming service, to try and prop up this failing streaming service. And I think that he's got a lot of really good points. I think he's got a lot of really good points. And I didn't think about the HBO Max financial connection until just now. They don't have to split any of that money. And so that's raw profit gain. And remember, they only put up about 25% of the production budget. So they actually, specifically Warner Media, they make their money back pretty quickly with just subscription services alone, while at the same time getting splits from the theatrical run too. Man, what a bunch of asshats. I just realized that. Wow, that's terrible. Screw Warner Brothers, man. I mean, at the end of the day, they're a business that are trying to make money, but they're literally screwing over their partners. Wow, that's crazy. I love when I figure things out like live on air. But anyway, good question, Jacob Juice. Hope Holland's going well. Very sorry to hear. But that's why theaters, I imagine, aren't showing it. Because they're like, no, screw you. We're not going to help you in this racket of yours. But of course, when theaters do that, it's the other distributors, rather, it's the other production companies that are going to get hurt. Because that's the only way they get money. That's the only way that they're going to get any money is it in a theatrical run. HBO's fine. Warner Brothers is fine because they're like, oh, it's okay. It's on our service for a month. We're going to get raw profits for an entire month of people signing up for, to see to see Wonder Woman, to see Dune, to see Matrix 4. God. It's terrible. That is terrible. All right, let's see. The animation commentator on YouTube at 656 says, DLive lets me know when you're live, but the buffering tends to be worse than YouTube. That's interesting because some people have said the buffering is worse on YouTube than on DLives. That's interesting. Tina says, I didn't tell you what his strategy was. Tommy did that all by himself. Ah, okay, Tina. All right, I see what you're doing there. I see what you did there. Orange Jet Reviews at 656. He's a member. Says, wait, Christmas is Friday this year. Is Black Friday on Christmas? No. So Black Friday is the Friday after Thanksgiving. So no, Black Friday can't be on Christmas. So I don't know if that was meant to be a joke or if that was a slip of the mind. Pat S., who is a member, says, the interview with Mall Santa was strange. Santa said, my toy bag, my choice. By the way, y'all, that was not the real Santa. Kara Tharp, what's going on? Glad to see you back in the chat as well. All right, let's see. Who else? Nico Blue. What's going on, Nico Blue? How's it going? Robert Frey says, early Odin. It's not complicated. I told everyone on Twitter, on Parler, and also on the Discord. So if you ever want to get notifications, if you can't trust YouTube, you can trust those social media services to know if the schedule ever changes. Just for anyone that's new, I do have to say once again, the reason why is because at 8 p.m., I have to help in bathing the child, bathing baby Thor. By the way, Bradley, I don't know if you're still in the chat, but I'm a father now. He is almost 2 months. Almost 2 months old. It's crazy. Time is flying. But I'm enjoying the time as much as I can. These are precious, precious moments. Alrighty, let us see. Queen Elizabeth, how's it going? Glad to see you here. Pat S. at 7 says, someone told me there's a video of counters taking cases of ballots out from under a table after the press and poll watchers left. I hope that's not true. Pat S., it is true. So basically, yeah, originally they were reported to be or suitcases. It turns out that they were actual ballot boxes, so like standard ballot boxes, but they were on rollers, and so it looked like a suitcase. But it was still taken from under a table, and the video evidence seems to suggest, and so here's the thing. This video came out, and you also had someone who swore in an affidavit, which means that they've sworn under penalty of perjury. So if they're lying, they either will have a fine or could go to jail. Again, really depends. But basically, they've sworn under penalty of perjury that this is what they saw, that they were there observing. They were told the voting stopped. They then left because they were told to leave because they said, we're done for the evening. You can leave now. And then the video shows that as soon as everyone was out of the room, out of this one area where media and observers were, all of a sudden at that point, they roll out these boxes from underneath a table that were hidden under a table and start counting again. And so does that prove fraud? No, because again, we don't actually know exactly the intent. We don't actually know what those ballots were, where they came from. Does it prove impropriety? It definitely seems so, because you have counting occurring without observers, and that, I believe, is a violation of Georgia state law. And at the same time, if you look to the metrics of the vote tallies, you realize that around the same time, you had a huge, gigantic spike for Joe Biden. And so people are trying to connect these dots to say that this seems to indicate that these were potentially fraudulent ballots that we should probably look into. Again, that has to be taken to court. It has to be proven in court. And there's still a lot of questions, right? I would say it's a very compelling piece of evidence, but as I said, with fraud, you have to be able to prove intent. And it can be very difficult to do that sometimes. Hologram Nunchuck at 7 o'clock says, I've definitely lost faith in our election process. I know that I'm definitely, I definitely have. No doubt about it. I definitely have. And I think the thing that gets me the most is how statistically implausible, not even improbable, but implausible, a Biden victory was based on certain metrics, such as bellwether counties and bellwether states. Basically, Trump won every bellwether state and won 18 of 19 bellwether counties. And these have been essentially 100% accurate in all other previous elections. So you have all of these statistical anomalies that have always 100% of the time been correct. This one time have been incorrect. That to me screams, okay, something's going on here. Especially when you have a candidate who's gotten 80 million votes, the most votes ever in history, more votes than Barack Obama, who is one of the most popular presidents of all time, and also, on top of that, taking into account that this dude didn't even campaign. He was half the time in his basement in Delaware. So one can say, I mean, there is a way to explain it, which is that, well, mail-in voting expanded the extended ballot access to people that had never been able to vote before, and it was able to lead to this gigantic surge of votes. Okay, maybe. Let's investigate and make sure that that is exactly what happened. You could also say, well, a lot of people love Trump, a lot of people hate Trump, and that hate drove out a lot of people, drove out more people. But here's the other thing. This, I believe, is the first time that a sitting president who gained 10 million votes from last election to then lose. Typically, when an incumbent loses, they either gain a few votes or they lose, most likely, more often than not, they lose votes from their previous election. He gained 10 million and still lost. Again, statistically, there are problems there. Again, that does not prove fraud. That does not prove beyond a reasonable doubt impropriety. It does raise questions. And as I said, all questions have to be answered. All questions need to be looked into and to be looked answered. That's all I've said. I don't think there's anything controversial about that. Because if the evidence that's presented and if the cases that go forward show that there's nothing wrong, okay, great. We can trust our system. But some people point to saying, well, all these cases have been thrown out. The cases have not been thrown out on the merits, typically. The cases have just been thrown out with prejudice, meaning they're just like, nope, we're not even going to let you present evidence. We're not even going to let you do anything, which I think is problematic. All right, Justin Proper, thank you very much for the $2. Just a super chat says, congrats on Baby Thor. He's in good hands. Well, thank you, Justin Proper. I appreciate that. Check out Justin Proper. He's good people. Also, thank you for a $5 super chat just earlier and says, Brandon Moyes just passed away. It's been a long time since I've spoken to him. Absolutely shocked. He'll be missed. May the Moyes be with you. What? Don't get me wrong. I don't know Brandon Moyes that well, but I didn't realize that he was sick. I'm very, very confused by that. Hold on, I think you may have tagged me on Twitter. Holy crap. Wow, I had no idea. But I say, because I remember it's been a long time since I've talked to him as well, but damn. Wow, well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Rest in peace. That's terrible. Do we know anything more? Let me know in the main chat. Please don't super chat that. Let me know, Justin Proper, if we know anything more about details, if they can be shared. If they can't be shared, then obviously you can DM me. Zach Brannigan, thank you very much for the super chat. He says that the Georgia video and connected issues don't prove fraud, but should have been enough that a full hand recount and recheck would be done, not the half-assed effort Georgia did. Yeah, so Zach Brannigan, that's a good point. So basically, Georgia has been touting, we did 2 recounts. They didn't do what we call a signature verification, meaning you take the envelope, or rather you take the signature that was on the absentee ballot and compare it to the voter registration file. Because when you register to vote, you sign. And so that was not done. An audit of the signatures was not done to compare the signature on the ballot to the signature in the voting file. Now, one person has mentioned saying that the signature on the ballot might not actually exist anymore because the signature may have only been on the external ballot or the external envelope, which would have been tossed, potentially. Again, I don't know for sure. Georgia law might have it where they have to keep those envelopes. I don't know quite for sure. Or the signature may even be on the actual ballot itself. But yeah, they have not had an actual signature audit. And that could actually show impropriety, especially when you look to specifically the Voter Integrity Project's results, because they've shown that there is a lot of problems. Like there's a lot of cases of dead people in Georgia who voted. There's a lot of cases of people who changed addresses, who don't have valid addresses, who voted. And that raises a lot of questions, right? It doesn't prove anything. It also doesn't mean that the results of the election of Biden winning will change either. But it raises enough questions for us to say we should probably investigate this. And again, the fact that people are being attacked for simply bringing up this pretty commonsensical point of, hey, yeah, that should be investigated. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. As someone might say. But thank you, Zach Brannigan. I very much appreciate it. And Zap, thank you for the donation via PayPal. He had donated via PayPal a few days ago. So thank you very much, Zap, I really do appreciate that. All right, back over into the regular YouTube comments. Let's see. Hologram Nunchuck Titan says, I've definitely lost faith in the election. Yeah, so I definitely agree with that statement. Yeah, it's crazy, 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 crazy. Balan Hobbit, what's going on? Glad to see you back in the chat. Let's see. Pat S. at 705 says, but it's one state, one vote. It's not every congressman get a vote. The Senate would then pick the VP. Here's the thing. No, that's only if. So here's the thing, Pat S. That would only happen if if neither candidate gets to 270, then that would happen. Then the House would vote for the the House would vote for the president. The Senate would vote for the vice president. And if it was a contingent election, that would also, I believe, be the way that would happen. But when they're certifying the results, so what I was talking about was January 6th, they are basically counting the results of the Electoral College vote that happened on December 14th to certify it officially. And it is the vice president as the head of the Senate who does this is the official tally. Here is the result. Here is our official president-elect. And so that was what I was trying to point out before. Thursday's Warrior says, tags me at 705, says, contested elections are supposed to be resolved in the House by state delegation, not individual congresspersons. Yeah, and that's one of the things I believe that is being brought up in the Texas suit, is basically saying, hey, let's give the power back to the state legislatures like it should be. All right. Nathan Slayton says, so you hate horror movies, but you like Psycho. See, here's the thing. Horror movies and thrillers are not mutually the same thing. So Psycho is a thriller. It's a psychological thriller. I like psychological thrillers. Horror is jump scare type stuff. Horror would be more of the occult, right? So typically it's ghost or monster movies. That would be more so what a horror film would be. And those are the films I tend not to like. Specifically, anything that deals with demonic possession and things like that. Nope, no thank you. Not my cup of tea. Not for me, man. A little too close to reality. Slasher Neons at 709 says, did you hear leftists are banning toys for tots because right-wing groups are promoting them? Made me say, again, Slicer, I hate that our country is so divided that even when it comes to a charitable organization, we have to be divided. That's so ridiculous, man. That's so sad. Man. Let's see. Alrighty. Chat has jumped on me like it always does. Unfortunately, it looks like some comments may have been skipped. Very sorry to hear that. Let's see. Lanceloto. What's going on, Lanceloto? Glad to see you in the chat. That was at 7:17. Let me jump over to DLive real quick. See how everyone is doing. Looks like we had some trolls in the chat. Let us see. Captain Dean Heiss. What's going on, good sir? Glad to see you over here. Adam in the clan. What's going on? Adam in the clan says, we don't know anything yet, Odin, about Moist other than he passed away. Well, again, I'm very sorry to hear that. Please keep me posted. Says Proper Jeremy is awesome. Also, Proper Jenny was funny as heck, but this Justin Proper person, I don't know about him. Great guy he is. Yeah, Justin Proper. Rest in peace, Proper Ginevra. I never called him Proper Jenny. It was always Proper Ginevra to me. But yeah, please keep me posted. Again, rest in peace, Moist. Kara Thorpe says, who's your favorite medieval king? Mine is Edward III. My least favorite is Richard I. Ooh. I like the Germanic tribes. I guess, and that's just the thing too, is that my concept of history and years is terrible. So for some reason, I want to say Clovis. I think Clovis was the Germanic king. Wasn't he the Germanic king that gifted the Papal States? Whoever king that was, I like that king a lot. Soul Assassin 717 says, all this talk about Roku, are you sponsored by them? If not, you should be. I am not sponsored by them, but I would welcome it. I would welcome it. Jonathan Castillo, what's going on, good sir? 719 says, now everyone is going to watch these movies with motion smoothing turned on. Yuck. No. Yeah, that is the worst. That is the worst when people don't realize that there are certain settings that are on. He then says, are you one of those people who adjust their friends or relatives' TV settings? Not typically, because I don't tend to visit. Like, I am a very, I might seem more extroverted since I have a YouTube channel. I do streams. I interact with commenters and things like that. But I'm a very introverted person. So even before the pandemic, I didn't really leave my house all that much. I don't have too many close friends, and it's just because I do fine on my own, and obviously with my wife and son, and that's pretty much. I feel like that moment in The Jerk. That's all I need, and it's true. It really is, because I'm a person where if I was alone, like if I didn't have a family, I would just be like, oh, just watch movies, hang out, chill, and I'd be happy. I don't have as much of a need for social interaction as much as extroverts tend to. Hardwick is now a member of the channel, says, have you considered changing your main channel name back to Odin's Movie Blog and your second channel to Odin's News Blog? No, because it's a mouthful. OMB Reviews is a lot easier to say, and the OMB Report is also easier to say as well. And also, I feel like it's easier at some point down the line for branding, right? Because OMB then becomes the brand. And so we'll see what happens, though, obviously. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes with the baby. So we'll have to wait and see. Titan tagged at 720 says, Odin, do you think there is some sort of political thing behind Gallon Patty pocketing $10 million apiece for Wonder Woman 84? I did not hear about that, Titan, but that might just be contracts. That sounds more like contracts than anything else. And no, that's the agreements they made. General Wingster tagged and says, hi, Odin, I'm a real boy again. How's it going? General Wingster, back to normal. Pat S. says, the Nolan mayor is so mad that her tax mills didn't pass this weekend. On Monday, she said that if CV isn't down in a week, we will go back to much harsher restrictions. They will last through Christmas. I'm so sick of totalitarian mayors and governors. I'm so sick of it. We have the right to assemble. Period. End stop. Not the right to assemble with an exception being in cases of pandemics. No, we have the right to assemble. So if I want to go over and spend time with my family, I have a right to do that. If I own a business and I want to have people in my business, I have a right to do that. Now, can there be limitations be put on it? Well, if I need to get a license from the city or the state, technically, yes. However, I think that some mayors and some governors are abusing the power and abusing the ability that they have. It's ridiculous. Mark 63366, what's going on? Nathan Slade tagged that Santa denying that kid a Nerf gun is a monster. You can't talk that way to a kid. No, you can't. I mean, he's just a little kid, man. Come on, man. Eric K722, smash that thumbs up with a mighty Santa hammer, or you will get no gifts this year. You will get nothing but coal. Rob D. Tag, hey Odin, I picked up some movies this weekend. I got District 9, awesome. J. Edgar, I don't know if you've seen it yet or not. No, I would. Taken 2, and Jim Carrey Grinch. So you got 2 great films. District 9 is fantastic. Jim Carrey's Grinch is fantastic. J. Edgar, good performances, not a really good movie. And Taken 2, I love Taken. All the other ones, it just gets worse. It just gets worse and worse. Nathan Slay at 724, is Arrival worth the watch? I would say yes. However, it's a divisive movie. So I will be honest. Some people hate it. Some people find it incredibly boring. However, I do think that for me, it's definitely worth it. Let's see. Oh, Lord Almighty. So notice how it's changed your name to Anonymous for a good reason. So I'm not going to say your full name, but thank you, Up the A, Franklin, for becoming a member at the Citizen of Asgard level. I very much appreciate it. Yes, it's a little too much in the name for me, bud. So you'll just be Up the A. Hardwick says, as of 5 hours ago, The Hollywood Reporter is now reporting that Alfred Molina is returning as Doc Ock in the next Spider-Man movie. Yeah, I almost made a video about that today, but I thought the Christopher Nolan news was a little bit bigger, and it's a lot more fun. A lot more fun to talk about. So, Bamsy148, what's going on? Glad to see you here. Mark Lizeth, what's going on? Welcome to the chats. Rosie G12, what's going on, Rosie G12? By the way, I can confirm that I have indeed started The Fisher King. So far, I'm loving it. I'm only about 15 or 20 minutes in, but I am thoroughly enjoying it so far. That Nobody Guy. Thank you, man, for becoming a member at the Citizen of Asgard level. I appreciate it, man. 70B says, is this a new time of 6:30? I'll be late every time. No. 70B, welcome. So no, it was for today, maybe for Saturday, at latest next Tuesday. Basically, it's because Baby Thor's bath time has been around 8 p.m. I have not been able to help out typically because I've been on stream on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And so in order to try and help the wife out a little bit more, because it's been a little bit difficult to just bathe on his own, just to do it safely, I decided for today to move my stream up 30 minutes. So that way we can end just right around 8, maybe a little after 8. And then that way still do the full hour and 30-minute show and maybe a little longer. And then also still be able to get him bathed and get him ready for bed and stuff like that. So that won't be forever, though, because we are about within the next week or so looking to change him to the next scheduling, which would have his bath time at 6:30 Eastern, which would mean 5:30 for your time. And that would mean the bath time would be then. And then we would be able to have the stream at the normal time. So, no, this is not a permanent thing. It should be a 1 to 3 time thing, if I had to guess. And if that changes, I, of course, will let y'all know. Mr. Talim, what's going on? How's it going? That Nobody Guy says, did the rambunctious of kids in class give you pause in having your own rambunctiousness of kids? Okay, got it. Give you a pause for having your own. Congrats on another toxic male baby, by the way. Thank you, That Nobody Guy. I appreciate it. No, not at all. In fact, I think it actually made me more want to be a parent, just because I want to raise my kid right. Luckily, I will say that for the most part, most of the kids I have had the last 5 or 6 years I've been teaching have been awesome. You know, there's characters in every single class and every single grade, but for the most part, I mean, they're kids. I've only had a couple instances of some really bad kids, and that's parenting. Let's see. Justin Proper tagged and says he wasn't sick from what I know. I have no idea what happened. Yeah, please keep me posted, man, if you can. Let's see. Hardwick at 729 says, did you hear about the new lawsuit being filed by the state of Texas against the 5 states? I talked about it earlier in the stream, good sir. That's why it's good to be on time. New number 2 is a member. What's going on? Justin Proper. Yeah, Odin question. All one word. You don't have to even use the @ symbol. As long as Odin and the word question are together, spelled correctly, it highlights orange for me. It's like a club. Justin Piper says he may have had an undiagnosed heart condition. Nobody knows. Show you. That's awful. Rob D says, I've really been enjoying HBO Max. I watched War Dogs on it yesterday. Streaming quality is amazing. No picture quality drops, no buffering. Now, again, as a service is concerned, I think that it's got content and I think that it's got quality. It's just not accessible. And I think that's, it's the accessibility and the price. Because if you would ask most people, what would you rather get? Disney Plus for $7 a month or HBO Max for $15 to $20 a month? Oh, by the way, your Roku device, you can't play HBO Max. I think that's what most people probably fall into, to be honest. Justin Proper says, by the way, sorry for bringing down the mood. I didn't mean to. No problem at all, man. I mean, that's an important thing that needs to be talked about, man. It says, just thought you should know, good times on his streams, especially when I was making a fool out of myself. Yeah, man, I want to say I was on. I want to say that I was definitely on one of his streams at one point. It's just been a very long time. We got 75 people watching. Please smash the like button if you can. I appreciate it. We got about 15 minutes left or so in the show. Thank you again for being here. And we're in the movie talk section. I think we've talked pretty much about everything. So we'll see what y'all bring up. Tina B says Christopher Nolan is an Tina B throwing some shade. Tina B, she is the Empress of the Universe. She's one of my Valks. She says this: Christopher Nolan is an overrated hack. Anything to get you back to the topic of movies. I kid. Do you kid about trying to get me back to the movie topic? Or are you kidding about Christopher Nolan being an overrated hack? Because don't get me wrong, some of his movies are incredibly overrated. Dunkirk being a great example. I will always go after Jeremy for defending Dunkirk as a great film, because I don't think Dunkirk is a great film. However, it's interesting how he defends Dunkirk, which I think, objectively speaking, most people would say it's not his best. But then I'm the one over here saying Tenet was amazing. And that's the one that is incredibly divisive. And more people, I think, would say it's not a good movie because of the sound mix, especially. Justin Proper says, horror movies are amazing. Ghost movies are awful, though. Yeah. So if we could separate the categories, then I might be a fan of certain horror. Again, if we consider thriller to be a part of the horror genre, then that would be the case. Rosie G12, thank you for becoming a member of the Army of Asgard. Thank you so much. Rosie G, we got a lot of people becoming members tonight. Thank y'all. I appreciate it. Rosie G12, thank you. And yeah, once I finish The Fisher King, I will be sure to do a review. Thank you for recommending it. The beginning with Jeff Bridges doing the shock jock, so funny. And his performance has just been incredible so far. So I can't wait to get to... because I know that it's got, apparently, a lot of people have been saying that it's got an incredible Robin Williams performance in it, and I cannot wait, because Robin Williams has not gotten onto my screen yet, so I can't wait for him to be up there. But thank you, Rosie G12. I appreciate it. I saw someone say, so Odin didn't watch The Nun. No, I did not watch The Nun. No, thank you. I saw the trailer and I was like, nope. Let's see. Clint Cates, welcome to the chat. Fire Knight 013 tagged at 734 and says, not even The Exorcist. I have seen The Exorcist. However, I only watched it because I used to do, when I had a lot more time, I used to do a movie night stream, and it was an October recommended film. And that stream, I think, is still up, or it may be one of the videos that got unlisted on the old channel that was been rebranded, but somewhere there's a video and a stream of me watching The Exorcist, and it was a great made movie. I wouldn't watch it again, just because it was terrifying. It was terrifying, man. Orange Hat Reviews says, would it be fair to say that paranormal and demonic horror movies are a no for you because of your Catholic faith? Just curious. It's not no because my Catholic faith doesn't allow it. It's a no bit because of my Catholic faith. When I see possessions and demonic stuff, I'm like, I believe and know that stuff does happen. I have friends that have confirmed witnessing these things, right? People that wouldn't be lying to me. So yeah, it freaks me out. So that's why I tend to stay away from those things. 13th Warrior, holy crap, man. So many people becoming members tonight. 13th Warrior, thank you, man. Thank you very much for becoming a member. The Citizen of Asgard level. And look at that. You get me with hair. You get one with me with hair in the old house, and you get a little river right there getting pet. So thank you very much, 13th Warrior. I appreciate that. Let's see. Mark63366 says, you don't like monster movies, so no Amy Schumer films then. I didn't say I didn't like monster movies. Monster films are okay. Monster of the Week type movies, I like those. Depends on what it is, right? Sometimes they're just cheesy, and I don't like it for that reason, but so mean. So mean. Let's see. Eric K says, Odin hates people. He does not get out. It's not that I hate people. It's just that I get more energy from isolation than I do from, because basically it comes down to, for those that don't know the difference between extrovert, introvert. Extrovert people get, if you're extroverted, you get energy from the people around you. You feed off of that energy, and you need it to sustain yourself essentially. Introverts need isolation and alone time, and that's how they basically feed their energy specifically. And sometimes it can be the case where you're an introvert and too much social interaction can actually be too much for you, right? You can't handle it as much. That's why I do have, and this is something that I've mentioned previously, I have certain situational social anxiety. So for instance, if I went to a party and I didn't know anybody, that is terrifying to me. Versus if I'm going to a party where I know everyone, I might be nervous for the very beginning, but once I'm there, then I'm typically okay. Rob D tagged and says, my favorite is King Louis the 16th because he was the one of the French executed by the guillotine. Well, damn. Matt Vader 74. What's going on, Matt Vader? What's going on, man? How's it going? Matt Vader, I believe you are the Matt Vader of the Salty Nerd Podcast, correct? Go check out the Salty Nerd Podcast. It's good fun. And it's a good crew over there. Lance Alato just says, or. Okay. You got to tag me in the one that you want, man. You can't just have a bunch of comments all over the place and then tag me one time. I don't got the time for that. I got 9 minutes. Brian Barr says Alfred Molina will return as Doc Ock. Yep, I already know about that. Which is awesome, by the way. I don't think I gave my opinion on it. I think that's an awesome bit of news. Hybrid Tech 13, are you going to call Baby Thor boy any point like Kratos from with Atreus? Yes, boy. I've actually already done it. And actually, it stems more so from the originals. Lanceolato says, I have a great idea for a shirt, dude. I need to send you the picture. All right, Lanceolato, go right ahead. Harburg says, after seeing them together in the latest episode of The Mandalorian, it's hard to believe that Ming-Na Wen is only 2 years younger than Tamora Morrison. She's 57, he's 59. What? She looks great. She looks great for 57. Good for her. Animation Commentator tagged says, I unsubbed from HBO Max because of the Unpregnant movie. Dude, yeah, Animation Commentator. Yeah. There are a lot of reasons to unsub from places like Netflix and places like that movie disgust me as well. Animation Commentator. It's just one of those things where it's a lose situation. For me, at least, just because I canceled the service. And at this point, especially, I lose access to movies that I need to review. And obviously people say, oh yeah, you can sail the high seas, but this is where my own personal simping comes in. My wife does not like when I sail the high seas, and I try to avoid it as much as I possibly can. I want to be as legit as I possibly can. Tina says, oh Lord, the Jeremy/Odin debate over Dunkirk. That's one for the ages. Yes, it is. Not nearly as impressive as the me versus Anna when it comes to Avatar. Someone said in a big way, who likes Memento? I like Memento. Memento is a great film. All right, we do need to start wrapping things up. So it is 7:53. So if y'all could start to slow down, even my members, if y'all could start to slow down, I'll try and get through everyone I can. Let's just go and jump over to D-Live for a second. Captain Dean High says, you were extroverted enough to get a wife and later a kid. That's not being extroverted. Come on. Phonemo, Will Gentry, what's going on? Daniel Thorne, thoughts on one or more world governance supposedly being in contact with Galactic Federation of Aliens? I think it's hilarious. I've covered that on the second channel on the OMB report. I don't buy it. That's just me, though. Daniel Thorne says, if Mace Windu is the Jedi who returns in Mando, do you think he will be Disney-fied? Probably, because everything gets Disney-fied. However, it's funny because I mentioned that in my review, or I mentioned that at one point, and people were like, no, he's dead, man. And they were freaked out over me saying Mace Windu. But Mace Windu's great. If Mace Windu came back in Mando, I'd be so excited. Matt Vader 74. Thank you, man. Thank you for becoming a member at the Citizen of Asgard level. I appreciate it. Enjoy the puppet. Enjoy the puppet being pet. I appreciate it. Let's see. Adam says, HBO Max is on Amazon Fire Stick now. Should have not got a Roku. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they figured out their issue. They figured out their issue with Fire. They couldn't figure out their issue for some reason with Roku. Daniel Thorne, will HBO Max not being on Roku push more people to sail the high seas to get what they want? Oh, yeah, for sure. If they don't get the Roku thing figured out, Wonder Woman 1984 might be the biggest pirated film of 2020. Big chance. All right. Got to get through these comments over on YouTube. All right, let's see. So I'm going to have to start skipping some comments. Rob D, let's see, says, Odin, you and Ryan Cannell need to have a debate on Zack Snyder movies. That wouldn't end well because he would be cursing up a storm. I would be like, I'm not cursing. And it just wouldn't, I don't think it would work out. Hybrid X13, the nun for Baby Thor's first movie. No! Rosie G12 is a member now, says, Mercedes Rule won an Oscar for her performance, I think, and you're welcome for the membership. Love the channel. Well, thank you very much, Rosie G. I appreciate it. I don't know if I've gotten to Mercedes yet. I don't know who that character is yet or what character she plays. Soul Assassin, my brother and his wife been to the church where the nun story happened. Said it's a crazy feeling you get when you're there. No. Blake St. Clair, I really didn't like Tenet. Nolan's reach exceeds his grasp on about 50% of his movies. Didn't like Inception or Dark Knight Rises either. Interstellar I liked but barely. I love Interstellar. I love a lot of the elements that are brought into Interstellar. I hated Interstellar the first time I watched it only after he jettisons outside of his ship, because the whole time I'm like, wait a minute, his ship was just being crushed and yet he's now totally fine, and that just threw me for a loop. I saw it a second time though, and knowing that was coming, I was able to prepare and was able to pay attention to different things, and I loved it the second time. Dark Knight Rises is not very good. Dark Knight Rises just is not a good movie. And Inception is one, over the years, every year, it gets worse. Because you just poke more and more holes, and it just... Thursday the Warrior says, I felt I should join since I'd talked so much trash in here. Well, thank you, Thursday the Warrior. And now also you don't have to tag anymore. Hardwick says, months ago I posted the joke, hashtag release the Kraken cuts, in the chat after the Snyder Cut was announced, and you found the release the Kraken reference to obscure how times have changed. It's very true. Rosie G12 says, I recommend Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. So awesome and hilarious. I don't know if I've ever seen Abbott and Costello, to be honest. Nathan Slay tagged and says, which character do you like more, Han Solo or Indiana Jones? Very different characters, but I think it depends on the day, to be honest. I feel like I've been asked that question, maybe even by you before. At this point, Han Solo. That's what I would say. Samurai Vader, what's going on? All right, I do need to start skipping some comments, sadly, because we are about 3 minutes away from 8 o'clock, and I want to get as close to that as possible. So, let's see, I got that one. So, I'm just going to have to go with members. Hardwick says, Rosalind Russell's Hildy Johnson in His Girl Friday is gender swapped. Hildy was a man in the play and 1931 movie The Front Page, but Howard Hawks realized the character worked better as a woman. Yeah, and that's an example of a gender swap working really well. Because His Girl Friday is a fantastic movie, and Rosalind Russell does a great job. 13th Warrior says, what? I know that you meant it as a joke, but I don't personally like to joke about that. Yeah, but seriously, like, that's their mindset is, oh yeah, a road trip movie about getting a procedure to kill a child? That's hilarious. No, it's not. It's the same reason why the show Girls is disgusting, because one of the episodes, they go to a clinic and they try and tell jokes there. And I'm like, this isn't funny. Right, let's see. Any more members who have left comments? That Nobody Guy says, do you remember when Saving Private Ryan was aired unedited on TV? Patriotism is in duress. It was? I actually didn't realize that it was, but because when I think about it, I'm like, no, yeah, it's history. That shouldn't be a problem, but I think it's pretty graphic too. So no, I actually don't remember that. That's interesting. Matt Vader using the Trump meme. Yes. Yes. Use those emotes. 13th Warrior says, my name is green now. I can now go gently into the good night. Yes, it is 13th Warrior. You're right about that. Video store owner. Okay, gotcha. Mark Lizeth, thank you. Mercedes is the video store owner. Okay, I've just gotten to her in the movie. So thank you for that. That nobody guy says, Heimdall, hold the gates. No, we have to head out. Harwick tag someone else. Rosie G says Gender Swap and His Girl Friday worked because it wasn't done for an agenda but for story. Rosie G, that's a great comment to end the YouTube chat on. That is fact. Basically, if you are doing any kind of swapping of any kind, if it is done to benefit the story, then it absolutely can work. His Girl Friday, I think, is the key example of how that absolutely can indeed work. All right. Well, that is going to be it for me this evening. So before I go, though, something that I like to do on the channel is anyone who is a member at the Army of Asgard level and above gets shouted out. It's one of the perks of being a member at that level. And yeah, so thank you to all of my members. Thank you to all my new members on the channel as well. It really does mean a lot. Let me go ahead and just get up my list really, really quick and put on the filter because it is Army of Asgard and above. Army of Asgard and Keeper of the Bifrost. So a huge shout out to all of my Army of Asgard and Keeper of the Bifrost people. Rosie G12, who just joined tonight. Thank you, Rosie G12. Really appreciate it. Nico Blue, Andrew Hoyle, Eric K, Orange Chat Reviews, Adam Avery, The Bosco 2000, Twirly Wolf, Jay Stowe, and Aiden Vickery. Thank you very much for being the members at the Army of Asgard level and above. Again, shout out to all of the members tonight. Shout out to all of the captains over on DLive. I don't give my captains enough love on DLive, so thank you so very much for that. Shout out, of course, to the Valks, Tina and Steph. Thank you so much for being awesome. Thank you all so much again for putting up with the time change as well, for starting 30 minutes earlier. We might start 30 minutes early on Saturday. I will let you all know via social media and Discord, just like I did last time. And if it is the case, it's going to be because of bath time. But again, we are transitioning to an earlier bath time soon, and that will allow the streams to go on at their normal times. Be on the lookout. We will have very soon a Sunday stream of The Chosen of Valhalla, because it'll have to be soon-ish, next couple weeks, because we don't want to go up against Christmas, obviously. And also, if you are a Keeper of the Bifrost member or above, both on Patreon, Subscribestar, or on YouTube, be on the lookout because I will be contacting the Flick Pick to try and get us a time to schedule our next podcast. A lot of things to talk about, especially since now I've seen John's favorite film ever, which is Stand By Me. So that nobody guy, have a good one. Eric K, Stephanie B, Tina B, Orange Chat Reviews, Eric K, the K-Man, 13th Warrior, Soul Assassin, Hyper to 13. Woo! I'm losing my breath. You guys all have an amazing night. You're all wonderful and amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a good one. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my December Patreon and Subscribestar members, starting off with Patreon, Albertus Magnus, Andrew Hoyle, Animation Commentator, Brian P., Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Harold Francis, The Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Jonathan Carney, Kenneth Camille, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Chat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Outpost Dyer, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Miss Martin Muses, also known as Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bogend, Tina B, and the Modern Major General, Laura Story. Gotta give you that shout out for that one time that you were doubled up. Thank you very much for being my Patreon members. And now a huge shout out to all of my December Subscribestar members we have over there with Stand For, Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nevadan G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you all so much for being my Patreon and Subscribestar members. If you want your name shouted out at the end of every video and live stream on the main channel, please consider joining over on those platforms. You can also get access to things like exclusive giveaways of 4Ks, Blu-rays. If you want a DVD, I guess you could also get a DVD as well, digital codes, and of course, you get to possibly join me on the channel once a month for the Chosen of Valhalla live stream and access to an exclusive podcast featuring John the Flick Pick Flickinger, where we have a lot of fun talking about movies and tons of other random things. Anyway, if you want to support these things, check out the links in the description of this video. And also, please consider joining my other channel, the OMB Report, where I talk about not just movies like I do over here, but I focus more so on politics, news, and culture in that order. You guys are all amazing. Thank you for your love and support. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless.